I am the 173rd Jewish woman who ever entered Auschwitz.
An untold story until now. Before they became the first Jews deported to Auschwitz, these teenage girls had their whole lives ahead of them, full of hopes and dreams. But the world was about to change forever.
Heather, it's so great to connect with you again. Great to see you. And I wanted to ask you, what inspired you to create this documentary?
It's the short answer is the survivors and the women that I met. The longer answer is in 2012, I was living in Europe and I went to Slovakia on the 70th anniversary, and in honor of Rena Kornreit-Gellison, who everybody just saw on the screen. And Rena was the subject of my first book, Rena's Promise. And Rena was on the first transport. And while I was in Slovakia in Poprad, Edith Grossman was interviewed. And I had no idea there were any survivors still alive. I had no idea there were any survivors other than Rena. I'd only met one other survivor. So I had no idea there were other survivors. And Edith was there. And a couple of years later, I went back. I had a camera with me in 2012. In 2015, I invited some survivors' children and grandchildren, of which you were both part of. And we had this incredible tour together. And we met Edith. I had decided to make a documentary. And I thought the story was going to be following families around and just doing this discovery and filming you guys. So there was a few of us, and we went through Slovakia, we went through Poland, we met in Krakow, we went down to Novi Sad, where your mother was from. And then we went to Tillage, where Rena was from, and we went to Bardziov and into Slovakia, and then we took the train up to Auschwitz. And it was an incredible journey, and we filmed in Auschwitz, and we interviewed everybody, and I thought that was the movie, and it wasn't. So I sold the book, 999, a couple of years later, and in the midst of writing the book and doing the research for it, I discovered that was the story, and that the women themselves. And so the original idea for the documentary ends up in the credits. And that's where we get to see you guys looking at the list. Very, very short little clips. The credits could be another hour. And then and it was this sort of extraordinary moment. I did every time we were editing the film, every time we went away from the survivors, it didn't work. The energy fell flat. And it's not that the children weren't important and have an important story, but we wanted to hear from the source. We didn't want to hear what it was like. We didn't want reflection. We wanted to be drawn into the story and to be there with them. And that's what we ended up doing.
One morning we wake up and we saw an announcement that all the non-married Jewish girls from 16 up have to come to the school for work.
We thought we can help our families and support them. So we said, oh, that'd be wonderful.
I said, I want to go with my friends. Friends are very important at that point. So I didn't want to be left behind.
Also curious if there was anything that was particularly shocking or particularly impactful that you encountered while you were creating the documentary.
To stay on the theme of our journey together, because this is such a unique opportunity to be doing a Q&A and a talk back with second generation, third generation, and you guys were with me when we made this journey, there's lots of things that were shocking, but what was so extraordinary traveling with children of survivors um, was was sharing your stories. And I remember when we were in Canada in Birkenau, and Tammy, you were walking around in the open area. We actually filmed your sneakers and walking over these cracked concrete, and and you remembered your mother's story about taking a shower and that she had snuck away from sorting the clothes and she snuck into the showers and took a shower and bathed. And then she got beaten for it. And it's such an extraordinary, like to risk your life to get clean. I think it's hard for us to understand. And that was a really powerful moment to hear that. Daniella, I will never forget the two moments that were just extraordinary for me in our group. And one, our cinematographer was filming you as you were touching the bricks of, I guess, one of the blocks, and you were walking along like you were trying to soak up the energy. I'm very tactile. I'm very like I want to touch things. There's something, I can go to the Holocaust Museum. It doesn't feel as powerful as going to Auschwitz and Birkenau. There's a different texture. There's a different and certainly a different energy. And for me. And then we had this incredibly beautiful moment that I really wanted to have in the film that we didn't get to put in, where the group of us women were at Block 25, which is called the Block of Death. And Daniella, you sang for us. I don't remember the song you sang. What song did you sing for us?
I think it was a song with the words from Lamentations.
That was it.
Al Ela Ani Bochia, for these things I weep.
Yeah, with your guitar, with the guitar? Yeah,
Ukulele, I think.
ukulele. She snuck it in. You're not supposed to have your instruments in the museum. She stuck it in, and then we all held hands and we did the Kaddish. I mean, I feel like crying just talking about it. It felt so powerful as women to say the Kaddish for the women of Block 25, and we all knew women who died in Block 25, and we were able to say their names. And yeah, it was just like, I mean, I still feel the energy from that moment. I felt like we were doing something that was really important for the spirits and souls of Block 25.
Shalom, shalom aleinu, v'al kol Yisrael.
How has it been received at the many festivals around the world where it's been screened?
Well, I gotta say, I just came back from India. I was just in Mumbai, and that was, I mean, it's been really powerfully received. I think people are almost surprised at how impactful it is, and I I believe that part of that reason is I've tried to make a beautiful documentary. Um, I mean, it's a horrible story, but the women themselves are gorgeous, and that archive, I think it really touches people. And in India, there was not a Jew in the audience, it was a lot. I mean, it was all Native Indians, Hindi, Muslim, uh, unaffiliated, Zoroastrians, and people just lined up to talk to me after. A lot of them had no idea of the Holocaust because it's not really taught in India. It's another side of the world. Or they knew about the Holocaust and they just had no idea how women and girls were targeted. And I think that's why I was brought to India, because it's such an issue. Women's rights in India are such a huge issue right now. There's, Ramita Navai, our narrator, covered the rape crisis in India. She's a real top documentarian and reporter on women and girls' rights. She's been in Afghani prisons. She covered Syria. She's on the West Bank now. And she's just a really, really courageous woman to go into these areas where women are not considered citizens, right? And certainly in India, it was really wonderful. I had 4 or 5 young men standing there talking to me. Usually, I have young women that are old, that was really interesting. They really wanted to talk about why women and girls are targeted, and we made that connection to culture and the importance of respecting women and girls.
Heather, I've never asked you this in all the time we've known each other, but I'm curious, how were you able to prepare the survivors to speak as beautifully as they did in the documentary?
That's a great question. Most of the survivors, by the time I reached them in their 90s, were really eager to talk. And they, by the time I was interviewing Edith and Elizabeth and some of our other testimonies, they knew who I was and they really wanted to talk to me. So Elizabeth Silverstein Bentz was in Australia, and I never got to meet her. We had to do it on Zoom because of COVID. And, it was this incredible moment. Like, we set up the shot, and then we were ready to go, and she said, I can't see Heather. I had to turn the computer around so I couldn't direct. I couldn't tell the camera guy what to do because she wanted to look in my eyes. And that moment of connection, and she does that little wave at the end, and it was just they really wanted to talk to me. And I will, I actually had a lot of conversation about this in India. I was talking to some reporters, and there's a very different way of interviewing trauma survivors, right? And I had lots of time. So basically, I just listen. I don't interrupt. Somebody asked, what sort of questions do you prepare? I don't ask questions because I know the material. And I just want to get the whole, it's sort of like in film, you do a wide shot and then you go in closer, but I wanted the wide shot. And it's frustrating to go through some of the USC Showa tapes, and you'll see an interviewer interrupt somebody who's speaking and ask a question that has nothing, it's like on a list, has nothing to do with what the survivor was saying. And you can see by the face, this happens in Ella Rutman's interview. She's about to drop a bombshell. Like, she's the one that was Mengele's scribe. And the interviewer interrupts, and it's gone. And we will never know what she was going to say. So it's super important to shut up and listen. And it's not really like being a reporter. It's much more like being a therapist, without analysis or anything. I'm just there to hold their hands and walk them through it. And to say, I used to say this to Rena all the time, I'm just here to share the story with you. You don't have to be alone anymore. It's not going to go away, but I'm here. And that's what we all do when we watch these films, is we share the burden. And then now we get to carry it into the world and speak our truth.
Eager to help their families, most girls went willingly. Their true fate had been lost to history, but for the first time, the survivors tell the story of what really happened.
Nobody ever heard of Auschwitz.
We didn't even realize what's happening to us.
The guards started screaming, up, dirty Jewish horse.
Who cared about 100 girls who went to Germany to work?
We were the first 1,000 women who ever entered the gates of hell there.
I want to thank you so much for speaking with us and sharing with the audience all your thoughts regarding the creation of, etc., about the documentary. So thank you, thank you.
I'm sorry, just also add how grateful, I think I can speak for all of us to say how grateful we were to share that journey with you.
Such a great journey. We have a special treat for everybody, and that is an incredible moment when we were all together. We were in Bargioff, and both Ida, your mother and grandmother, Daniella and Tammy, and Rena were from Poland, and they were hiding in Bargioff. And we went to this synagogue. What's the synagogue called, Daniella?
I think it was Bikor Cholim.
Yeah, and it's basically known as the old shul. It's closed down now, and 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 we were up in the women's section, and we were standing there, very creaky, very like, and we realized that Rena and Ida must have worshiped together, and they had to have known each other because it's a really small site. Rena was a block away. I think Ida was working in the kosher butcher across the street, right? I mean, it was like they were within a block of each other, and they were refugees together. And we were standing there. I mean, I felt like their spirits were there. And I heard Daniella read what was over the ark. And then she began to sing, and we used that music, their singing. Her mother came in with her, and Maria Volarova took their voices. It starts with Daniella, her mother comes in, and then Maria's girls' choir, high school teenage girls, come in and sing with them. And Daniella's going to sing Pihuli for us.
These are words from the Psalms. Pirchuli Sha'arei Tzedek, Avovam Odeya. Open to me the gates of righteousness. I will enter into them. I will give thanks to God. Zehashar Ladonai Tzadikim Yavo Uvo. This is the gate of God, the righteous shall enter into it. Idchuli Sharei Tzedek Avovam Odeya Pitchuli Sharei Tzedek Avovam Odeya Zehashar Ladonai Tzadikim Yavovo Zehashar Ladonai Tzadikim Yavovo.
Shalom.
curious, how has